All right, so we are going to be looking at Microsoft Word today, and we'll talk a little bit about it at first to kind of, so hopefully, I mean, I'm assuming that everybody has pretty much at least used Word a little bit in the past, so it shouldn't be totally brand new to everybody. But if it is, that's fine too. But I will just say right up front that it's not going to be a typing class, so there's not going to be a whole lot of typing for you to do. Today, there we'll have some typing, but for the most part, what I'll be doing is I'll be giving you start files that you'll be able to go ahead and kind of modify on your own. So that way, we're going to be focusing most of our time on doing the actual formatting of the text as opposed to typing everything out. And because sometimes that can be problematic because some people are much slower typers than other people. And so that's one of the reasons that we'll start with these data files. Right, so one of the nice things about Word, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to expand my ribbon. So right now my ribbon is collapsed. Some people prefer to work with it like this. I'm going to go ahead. All I have to do is activate a tab, and then I'm going to pin my ribbon. So right over here, it kind of looks like a little push pin. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and then now my ribbon is going to be stuck to my screen. So with the ribbon, again, we talked a little bit about it yesterday, and I posted that video, so I won't waste too much time today, but we're going to be focusing primarily on our home tab today. And our home tab is where we're going to have our clipboard group. So that's going to be all of the cutting, copying, pasting stuff. And then for those of you that, I think there was a couple people that worked with Mac, we will get into a little bit of using this clipboard. This clipboard is a really cool feature that Microsoft Office or Microsoft Office, because it's available across all platforms. It's really kind of cool. But they introduced this about 7 years ago, I think. And what it is, it's a place that will store all of your the things that you've cut or copied, and it's going to store them here for later use. It'll either store them until you shut the application down, or it'll store them until you delete them, like I just did. There was something on there that we weren't going to use today. But if you're using a Mac, this is one of the features that's not available to Mac. So I apologize. When we get into some of this cutting and pasting, you may just have to paste stuff right away. So, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. And so that's our clipboard group. Then we're going to focus a lot on our font group. This is going to be all of our text formatting, and then we'll do a little bit with our paragraph stuff today. Maybe not a whole lot with applying a lot of different styles, but as we get further along in our time together, we'll start to explore this stuff a little bit more. And so one of the nice things about a word processing software, whether you are using Word or you're using Apple's, I think it's called Pages, or Google Docs. A lot of people in the district are using the Google Docs platform. But what that will do is it allows us to enter and edit text very, very quickly, very efficiently. It allows us to move text around, whether we're cutting and pasting it, copying and pasting it. And it also allows us to do a lot of different formatting with texts. It allows us to add graphics to make it kind of snappy, and then we can enhance it with other things like SmartArt or pictures or like charts and tables. And so there's a lot of really different cool stuff that we can do with it. And so we're going to kind of jump in and explore a little bit with the document right away. So like you'll notice that right now I have my ruler across the top of my screen. If you don't see this ruler, like your horizontal ruler right here, your vertical ruler right over here, one way to do that, to be able to see that, and I would recommend if you're going to start using Word a lot, that ruler should be on your screen because you'll be referring to it a lot. And it's easy if you go to your View tab, and then right up here in your Show group, just select that ruler option, and it will turn that ruler on. And so again, we'll be using it a lot to kind of locate when we do tabs, when we place graphics. We'll be using a lot of that, a lot of the functions in the ruler, whether it's grid lines or guidelines, things like that. So we will be using it quite a bit. And then also one of the other things that I will suggest is we are going to be using our vertical ruler over here. And one way to do that, so you can see right now I'm at the 1 inch mark of my vertical rule. And so I've got a 1 inch top margin, a 1 inch left margin. And so right now my insertion point is at the 1 inch mark. And that's evident by right down here. It says at 1 inch. Oh. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on my status bar down here. And then again, this is a way to customize that status bar. So if we go to our vertical page position, this is where we can turn that vertical positioning on and off. And again, when I'm working with Word, I typically will have my formatted page position, my section, my page number, and then that vertical page position at least. I typically have my word count on as well as my spelling and grammar. The spelling and grammar is just going to be a little icon right down here at the bottom that's going to tell you there's going to be like a little check mark in there if there are errors somewhere in your document. So you'll be able to tell very easily if there is anything available. I'm gonna bring that over here, sorry. All right, and then again, we've got all of our, when we talk about that ribbon, we've got our different tabs, and then within the tabs, we've got our groups, so illustration, content, add-ins. So all of our groups are gonna be split up. And then within most of the groups, there's gonna be a little kind of a icon in the bottom right corner that's called our launcher. And when we click on that launcher, it's going to launch a separate dialog box that's going to have a lot more advanced features. And it's primarily going to be everything that's available in the ribbon that you'll do kind of one action at a time. We could come down here into this launcher and do everything at once, click OK, and have everything applied. And so again, just kind of familiarizing you with some of the terminology that we'll be discussing as we go through. And then one other thing that we'll talk about before we start working with the software is our pointers. And so right now you can see that I've got, this pointer that I'm kind of floating around the screen a lot, drives my wife crazy. Right up here, if I come up out of my document, it's going to turn into a selection pointer, and that's going to be that little arrow. So the left pointing arrow is going to be our selection pointer. It's going to allow us to select items in the ribbon, select different options. If we come down in the margins of on our desktop, you can see it kind of turns into a right pointing arrow, and that right pointing arrow is going to help us select like large chunks of text at once. And again, we'll get into it as we start working with the software a little bit more. This little blinky guy right here is our insertion point. And this used to be, we called it, back in the day when I was working on TextMaster software, we called it a cursor. And it used to be a little block that blinked off and on, but now it's just this vertical line that kind of blinks off and on and allows us to enter text very easily. And then to the right over here is our I-beam. And the I-beam is going to be the icon that will kind of allow us to move our insertion point around. So if I wanted to go ahead and start typing text over on this side of my document, I can just click over here and start typing, as opposed to typing it way over here. And again, so that I-beam is just a way to kind of move around where you want your insertion point. And then you'll also notice that when I'm navigating the I-beam around the page, when I'm kind of in the middle, you'll see that it turns out it kind of has this these lines that are centered from the middle, and that's going to be the same as our center text. So if we wanted to center text, we could just click somewhere in the middle of the document, and it's automatically going to apply that center alignment. If we come over here to the right, you'll notice that now we've got that right alignment icon that kind of floats around with us. And the same thing with when we're over here on the left, we get that left align. And so if we wanted to align text a different way, we can just click over on one side of the page or in the center, as opposed to clicking our alignments right up here as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open up a blank document. So if you don't have one open, you can open up the application, do File, New, and then Blank Document. You could also do Control N, which would open up a blank document as well. So those are just a different kinds of ways to open up blank new documents. So now you can see that right now I have document 5 showing. Hopefully you've only got document 1. But if I look down here, if I hover over the icon down in my taskbar, you can see I've got several different documents open. And so I can go ahead and close some of those. If I don't want all of them open, I don't need to save that. All right, so then I just want to start with this one document. All right, and so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to just start to enter some text. So again, we worked, for those of you that were with me yesterday, the project that we're working on, and like this overarching project within this text, is this Reason to Go company. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at creating a memo, and then if we have time at the end, we'll also look at kind of creating a fax cover sheet, as if people use fax cover sheets that much anymore. But we're going to go ahead and start at the very top of our document. And again, you can do Control Home if you are kind of navigating around your screen at all with me, and that's going to bring you back up to the very top left corner of the document. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to type Reason to Go.
Shane, does everybody have one open? I don't know how to go about that.
Yeah, so do you have Microsoft Word?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if you open up the application and then go ahead and just click on this blank document, and it should open up, and it should open up just a blank page for you.
So will that close the screen that I'm looking at you from, or will it keep that open as well?
Are you looking at me on like your computer screen?
Yeah.
It will, what you could do is you could take when the Word document opens up, it's going to open up like this. If you come up here in the corner and click on this resize option, if you click on that, it's going to resize it.
Okay.
And from here, you could kind of split your screen with the document and with the video that you're watching.
So that would be a home or file on my document.
So once you have your document open, and do you have the blank screen?
Yes.
Okay, so once you've got that open, you can come up here and into the top menu bar up here and click on that button. Right now mine says maximize. It's going to maximize it across the screen. If you click on it, it's going to kind of resize that screen a little bit, and you can just grab the little sides.
Found it. Yeah, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
And so that way, and again, so if people are, not doing a project because you want to see what I'm doing, that's one way. If you're only using one screen, I've got 3 screens in front of me right now, so mine's a little different. But if you've only got one screen, that's one way that you could do to kind of change what you're seeing on your screen. All right, again, so I'm going to go ahead and type in Reason to Go, and then I'm going to press my Enter key 2 times. And since I've done that, I'm going to also go ahead and turn on my formatting marks. So in my Home tab in my paragraph group, I've got this kind of looks like a backwards P. Sorry, it's a paragraph indicator. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to put these funny little symbols into my document. And all these are right now these are like the hidden things that we're doing in the document that we can't really see when we're working in it, or we can't see when we print it. But it's kind of helping us manipulate our selection pointer or our I-beam around that page. And so we've got that Reason to Go typed. I hit the Enter key 2 times. So I'm down to this new line. And now I'm just going to start a standard memo. And so I'm going to go ahead and type 2 in all caps, and then colon. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit my Tab key 2 times. And if you're not familiar, the Tab key is on the left side of your keyboard. It's kind of below the tilde and the like that accent mark. So I'm going to hit my Tab key 2 times, and then you'll see it populates these little right pointing arrows. And all those right pointing arrows are, again, it's kind of the background way. I'm going to turn those formatting marks off for a second. It's just the background way of showing us what kind of formatting we're applying so far. And so I've got those two little arrows are just indicating that I've hit my tab key a couple times. And I'm going to go ahead and type out who this document is to, this memo. And we're going to type it to the R2G managers. So I'm just going to do R2G and then space. And then you'll notice that when I hit the space key, it puts in this this kind of small bullet point in the middle of the line. And that just indicates that we've hit the space bar. And again, it's not going to show up in our regular document. This is just going to show up when we're looking at all of those hidden formatting marks. So R2G and then managers. All right, so I spelled the word managers wrong. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to navigate to that next line. And then when I do that, right away the software, because I've got my software turned on to tell me when I misspell a word. And so right now it's recognizing right away, hey, this word is something that I don't recognize in the dictionary. I think maybe it's misspelled. So it gives us this little red squiggly line. If I come over to this word and I right click on it, then you can see it gives me these options. So it's right away, the first thing it says is there's a spelling error, and these are what I think you might mean. And so it says, you might mean managers plural, you might be managers possessive, or you might be managers plural possessive. And again, we're typing this memo to all of the R2G managers. So I'm going to say, yep, I want that plural form of the word. I'm just going to select on it. And then it brings me right back to where my insertion point was before I made that, correction. And again, whenever you make an error in, whether it's in spelling, whether it's in grammar, if it's in like the number agreement or something, verb tense, the application is going to give you a little warning that there's something wrong with it. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and again, all of my labels out here are going to be all caps with a colon. So it's going to be, we're going to do to, from, date, and re out here. So I'm just going to do from, and again, all caps, and then colon, and then I'm going to tab, and then tab one more time. And again, the reason we're tabbing is because we want to have all this text aligned. Now, there might be a time, like when we come down to this, the re line, we may have to tab an extra time, we'll see, but the purpose of tabbing is to get everything kind of aligned with one another. And so this message is going to be from our boss, Mary Watson. And then again, I'm going to hit enter. And then now you'll notice that whenever I hit enter, it gives me a little bit of space in between these lines. And so the default spacing with Microsoft Word is going to be, a true single space with a little bit of extra. And so it's going to add 8 points of spacing in between, in between each line, just to kind of separate it. And so this is one way to think about it is, back in the day, whenever you hit that enter, you would just go immediately down to the next line. And so whenever we'd have to indicate that a new paragraph was starting in a document, we would have to tab in once, then type our text. Then when we got to the new tab, a new line, we would again tab in. With this new line spacing, you no longer have to tab. And again, it's all about saving space in your document, and in another way, it's about saving ink, because you're not taking as much. So, all right. So again, so we've got this to, from, and now we're going to do our date. So again, in all caps, I'm going to type date, and then again, colon, and then tab, and then I'm going to type. So today's date is May. We can do today's date. Now, the one thing is, when we're doing this, the software will automatically correct things for us, and it'll automatically fill things for us. So I'm going to type the word May, and when I hit my space bar, right away it comes up with this little hint. May 12th, 2020. So it indicates, since it sees that we've typed the word May, it kind of predicts that, since we've got this date label out here, maybe we want to add today's date to this document. I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, that's what I want to do. I'm going to hit my enter key one time. It'll automatically put the date in for us, and then I could hit enter again. Now, if we didn't want today's date in there, we could just keep typing whatever date it was. But it's a really convenient feature that if you want today's date, you can automatically start typing it and then hit that enter key and it will populate it for you. All right, and then I'm going to do colon, and then tab. And again, everything's aligned, and we're going to enter the text marketing meeting. All right, and then we're going to hit enter 2 more times. Okay, so we've got this opening block of our memo that just has all of our that basic information. And we'll format this in a little bit when we come back to do some editing. But normally when you're doing a memo, this to, from, date, and it's going to be all caps, and it's also going to be bold. And in a little bit, we'll come back and do that formatting. But we just want to look at creating this document and then editing some of the text. So that's the only reason that we're not doing it right now. All right, so now that I've got that intro block, I'm going to start typing the body of my memo. And again, so this is just going to be some text that we're going to type. So we're going to say the next marketing staff meeting will be held on the, all right. And then now I'm going to type this like a date reference, but I'm going to use an ordinal number. And an ordinal number is going to be a number that indicates an order, like first, second, third, fourth. A cardinal number is just a regular number, like May 12. 12 would be our cardinal number. So we're going to type an ordinal. And now the nice thing about this, we're going to type the 17th of May, and I'm going to type 17th. And then after I hit my space key, after I type that ordinal, that you'll notice it automatically recognizes that I've just typed an ordinal number, and it will superscript that TH for us. So whether it's the first, second, third, fourth, 19th, whatever, it's automatically going to give us that superscript. Now, if we didn't want the superscript, we could undo that, and it would undo it. That's like one way to do, that's one way to kind of to alleviate that. But normally when we're typing an ordinal, we kind of want that superscript there. And again, anytime, and again, this is called an autocomplete. Anytime the software auto-completes something for you, if you don't want that, you can hit the little undo key up here, or you can just, while you're typing, hit Control-Z, and Control-Z is just the keyboard shortcut to undo something. And so, but in this case, we want that ordinal number to be there. So it's going to be the 17th of May at 2 p.m. And again, you can see that when I type May, it gives me that hint again that maybe I want this date. I don't, so I'm just going to keep typing, and it will disappear at 2 p.m. In the conference room on the ground floor. Period. All right. So now we're going to hit our space bar, our space key. And then the one thing is, now with the variable spacing between letters, we don't have to do 2 spaces anymore. So when I was growing up and I was in my English class, whenever we would type documents using a word processor, we would always have to put 2 spaces after a period. Nowadays, if you're accustomed to doing that, it's not wrong to do it that way, but it's not necessary anymore. Because back, before word processors were as advanced as they are, we used to have, it used to be a standard spacing that every character took up the same amount of space. Well, M, a capital M, is much wider than a lowercase I. And so they don't need to take up the same amount of space in a document. And so now that we've got variable character spacing, we don't have to do those two spaces anymore because it's going to recognize it for us. So we've got just that single space. And again, if you do two spacing, that's totally fine if it's out of habit, but just make sure you're consistent with it. Don't do one spacing sometimes and two spacing sometimes. Just be consistent and kind of stick to what you're doing. All right, now we're going to continue. Heading the agenda. All right, will be the launch of our new sea turtle conservation project. Uh-oh. Come on. All right, will be the launch of our new sea turtle conservation project. And then sea turtle conservation project is in title case, so each word is capitalized. A rewarding opportunity to supervise hatcheries, so comma, a rewarding opportunity to supervise hatcheries. All right. And then you'll notice that I just misspelled the word hatcheries. And then when I hit the space key, it automatically corrected it for me because there's a lot of these autocorrect words. Again, if something's commonly misspelled, the software will automatically correct it for you as you type. So it recognized while I was typing that I misspelled the word, and then when I hit my space key, it automatically corrected that one for me. So again, there's the difference between the autocomplete, which is like when we started typing May, it automatically completed the date for us. When we typed in the 17 th, hit our space, it automatically completed that by modifying that formatting for us. And so autocomplete will automatically finish a word or a phrase for us. The autocorrect will correct something that is incorrect when we're doing it. And so those are two of the neat features with the Microsoft Word software as well. So the supervising hatcheries, comma, count and release baby turtles. All right, turtlers, comma, and patrol the nighttime shores of Costa Rica. Period. All right, and I'll correct that word in a minute. The project is scheduled for, all right, and then again, the project is gonna be scheduled for September 2020, but I'm gonna start typing September, so I get SEP, and then when I hit the T, again, I'm automatically gonna get this hint that it recognizes that I'm starting to spell the word September. And if that's what I want, again, this is that autocomplete, I can just hit my enter key, space, and then continue typing. So for September 2020, period. And then again, I misspelled my word turtles. So I'm just gonna come over, right click on the word turtlers, and then look for the correct spelling that I want. I want the word turtles. I'm gonna go ahead and select that, and it's gonna automatically fix it for me. All right, questions so far? So far, so we're good. All right, I'm assuming we're good since nobody's saying anything. All right, again, so we've completed that first paragraph. I'm gonna go ahead and hit my enter key again, and then you'll notice that when we hit that enter key, it brings us down to a new, it gives us additional spacing in between. So right here in these lines, we've got a little bit smaller spacing than we do between these lines. And again, that's just a way for the software to indicate that we've got a new paragraph starting. And one of the other features that we can kind of talk about is, when I first started typing, it was on an old typewriter, an actual like physical typewriter. And when you got to the end of the line, you'd automatically have to hard carriage return and go all the way back to the new line, and roll up your paper a little bit. Now we've got not an option, but I can't even think what it's called, but it's called text wrapping. And so it automatically will wrap the text from one line to the next, so we don't have to hit return. And so if we were to come to the end of the line and hit the return key, we would have this weird spacing throughout our document. Feature, that's what it's called. It's called a feature called text wrapping. And so it automatically will wrap text from one line to the next as we go, and we don't have to do anything with it. It just is automatically built in. When we get to the end of a paragraph, then we'll hit our enter, and then it's going to automatically give us that paragraph spacing at the end of that line. So, sorry, I'm glad I figured out that word. All right, now we're going to start our next paragraph. Sam Royfi is in Tamarindo hammering out the details, period. A preliminary draft of the project brochure is attached. Period. All right. Preliminary draft of the project. And again, so now I misspelled a word in here, and I spelled of off, but since it is a word, the software isn't recognizing that it's misspelled. And so again, that's one of the reasons that it's always important, even if we've got our autocorrect or we're doing a spell check, it's always important to kind of look over the document on your own just to make sure that we've got everything the way we want it. All right, the project brochure is attached. And then our next line here is bring your creative ideas to the meeting. Period. All right. So we've got this text, we've got our document started. I'm going to go ahead now, and again, normally when I'm creating a document, the first thing I do is save it right away, but we haven't done that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and save it right now. So I'm going to go up here to my ribbon, and I'm going to hit my File button. So go to my File tab, and then I'm going to do the Save As again, because we haven't given it a name yet. Right now it's still called Document 1 or Document 5 or whatever document you have. We're going to do a Save As, and then we're going to navigate to where, sorry about that, it's driving me crazy. All these messages. We're going to navigate to wherever we want to save it. And so in this case, it's probably easiest to just save it to the desktop. And I'm going to save it in a little file I've created, or a folder I've created called Word. And then we're going to go ahead and call this one. I can just call it Reason to Go is fine. So I'm just going to save mine as Reason to Go Memo. And then hit Save. And then once we've done that, and again, the Reason to Go name will pop up because it's the first thing we typed on that document. So it will sometimes just give us a hint of what we may want to call that document. And sometimes that's fine. Sometimes we want to call it something different. All right, so we've renamed it. And then now once we've done that, it'll change up here at the top from Document 5 or Document 1 or whatever to the name of what we've called it. So now it's the Reason to Go Memo and it's telling me where it's saved. It's saved in on my PC. So now that we've got that, our document saved, now we can kind of go through and edit it for some content. And so we can see there's a couple different ways that we can edit this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring my insertion point over the word for in the last sentence of that first paragraph. So this project is scheduled for September 2020. All right, so I'm just going to bring my insertion point in front of, or at the word for, or sorry, at the end of the word for, and then I'm going to hit my backspace key 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And again, that's just a way that I can hit, delete a word or delete a character. So I deleted one character at a time. And again, I just use my backspace key. And when you use the backspace key, the backspace key will delete characters from the right to the left. Now we're going to use our delete key in a minute, and that's going to delete characters from the right. So right now we're deleting characters from right to left. The delete key is going to do it a little bit differently. So we've got that project is scheduled, and so we've deleted the word for, and we're going to type in to begin in. So instead of the project is scheduled for September 2020, this project is scheduled to begin in September 2020. All right, and so now we're going to bring our insertion point before the word staff, the next marketing staff meeting. And so I'm going to bring my insertion point directly in front of the word staff. And then again, this time I'm going to delete the word staff and the period or the space after it, but I'm going to use my delete key. And again, when we used our backspace key deleted to the left, but now when we hit our delete key 6 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's deleting the characters from the right this time. And again, it's either way is fine. It's just a couple different ways to do it. So again, we've deleted with our backspace key, we've deleted with our delete key. And let's go ahead and save our changes. So we've already got that document named. So I'm just going to use my quick save up here, or again, you can use your Control S is going to be another quick way to save it while we're typing. All right. So now I'm going to bring my insertion point where it says that the conference room, and I'm just going to bring my insertion point directly in front of the word conference room. Now I'm just going to add some text in. So I'm just going to type, we want it to be in the large conference room. So I'm just going to type large and then space. And again, right now we're just doing some basic text editing. And we'll do that for just a little bit. Okay, so we've got that. So we've deleted some stuff, we've added some stuff, and now we're going to look at it, do it a little bit differently as well. So I'm going to come up to this R2G managers up at the top, or sorry, up in our to line. And then here, I'm going to click and hold with my left mouse button in front of R2G, and I'm going to drag across to the end of that line. And so I'm just selecting all of the text in that from R2G on. So again, I'm just clicking in front of the R with my left mouse button, holding it and dragging it across, and then releasing it. And so now I've got that text selected, and then a lot of people will hit, if you don't want that text in there, they'll hit backspace or hit delete or whatever. But just remember that when text is selected, that text, that active text that you've selected, if we just start typing over it, it'll automatically disappear. So we're just going to type marketing staff, and when I don't have to hit delete or anything, once I type marketing, it automatically replaces that text. So whenever not staffy. So you typically won't have to use that delete key if you're just replacing text, because you'll just select it and then type right over it. All right, and so now instead of our memo coming from Mary Watson, we want it to come from us personally. And so again, one of the other ways that we can do this, and again, if you single click in a word, it will automatically bring your insertion point to that location. If we double click, 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 it'll automatically select that entire word. And so that's what we want to do. We're going to select Mary's name, her first name. I just double clicked and I'm going to type my name and then double click over Watson and then type your last name. And then another thing that we could do is I'm going to come down, bring my insertion point down into this larger paragraph. So again, we can single click to bring our insertion point into a word. We can double click to select that entire word, but we can also triple click 3 times and it will select an entire paragraph. And so if for some reason we needed to select a paragraph to move it, which we're going to do at some point in this lesson today, it's easy to select a whole paragraph as opposed to clicking and holding and dragging through it. We can just come up here, click it 3 times. There we go. And it will automatically select the whole paragraph at once. All right, and so now I'm going to come down to this reline, the regarding the marketing meeting. And I'm going to hover over this left margin of my page. And when I do that, I get my little right pointing selection pointer. And this is a really cool feature because it will allow us to select an entire line of text at once. So if we wanted to replace, just this middle line of text in our document, we can come out here, click it once, and it will select a whole line of text at once. If we come over to this regarding line where we want the marketing meeting, we want to actually change this to regarding the launch of new sea turtle conservation project. I'm just going to come over here and click it 1 time. And again, it's selected it. It's the active text. I'm going to go ahead and retype tab, and then launch of new sea turtle conservation project. And again, sea turtle conservation project is in title case. All right. And then now we're going to come down, we're going to continue to do some editing of this document. So we're going to come down to that 3rd line of text where it says, talking about the supervision, so the supervising hatcheries. I'm just going to come over to that word supervise. And I'm going to, where to go? Oh, there it is. All right. So I'm going to double click on it. And I'm going to say build. So we're going to build hatcheries instead of supervise hatcheries. And then I'm going to select the text nighttime shores. And again, this time it's more than 1 word. So I'm going to go ahead and click and hold in front of that word nighttime and then just drag through. And then when I get to the end of that line, it will select the next line, but just go ahead and hold on to it and manipulate your selection pointer to the text that you want. Again, so just nighttime shores. I'm going to release it. And then again, we're just going to overtype with moon-lit beaches. So moon-lit beaches of Costa Rica. All right, and now I'm going to come down here to this Sam Roife is in Tamarindo hammering out the details. I don't want that line of text. So I want to get rid of that. So I can come over here and just click and hold and drag through it to delete it. Or another way I can do it is if I just hold my control key down and click anywhere in that sentence, you can see what it does is it automatically selects the entire sentence and it selects the space after that paragraph or after the sentence. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that and I'm going to hit my delete key and it automatically deletes the whole line. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come up here to my save button to save our progress so far. All right, so I'm assuming that was really weird because I have like all of my indicators that you guys are here like just disappeared. So hopefully I've still got my Zoom commands up here. So I'm assuming everyone's still here, but it was just weird because everything just blinked off on me.
The commands for me are down at the bottom.
Oh, yep. Okay, that's fine. No, but I had on one of my screens, I had my participant list and the chat box and stuff like that, and then everything just disappeared. And so it was just a really weird occurrence. So, all right, but thank you for letting me know that everything's still there, that you can still see it. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to use what's called the mini toolbar to select text. So far we've been, we've used the ribbon a little bit. We've been using right in the document, but now we're going to go ahead and we're going to select this text reason to go at the top. Again, you can click and hold, drag through it. You can select out here in this left margin, or since it's a short paragraph, we could, triple click on it to select that whole paragraph, double click on it to select the word because it's all really one word. There's lots of different ways that we've seen to select text right now. So again, we're just going to select that reason to go. And now we're going to go ahead and increase the font. And so again, you can either use your ribbon to do this, or again, I'm going to reselect it. And so when you select a chunk of text or some text, this little mini toolbar will pop up too for you. And this is just another feature that was added to allow you to kind of stay close to the text that you're working on, as opposed to keep moving up and down from the ribbon. And so, I'm just going to use this mini toolbar to select my text. So I'm going to go ahead and select that reason to go. And then I'm going to click on this little it's kind of a capital A with a little arrow next to it going up, as opposed to this little capital A with a little arrow going down. I'm going to click on that 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll see what it's doing. You can either call it the grow font or increase font button, but it's just allowing us to go up in increments of typically 2 points of font size at a time. And so again, it was at 11 point. We clicked it 6 times, moved it up to 22 point font. And again, we're not using our ribbon. We're just using that little mini toolbar that pops up. Right. I'm also going to go ahead and.
I don't
Yep.
know how to do that toolbar thing. Like,
Oh,
when I
so
click, it doesn't do that.
So are you using a Windows PC?
No, I have a Mac.
I thought Macs had this though. All right, but so if you select the text,
Yeah.
that little mini toolbar doesn't pop up for you?
No.
Okay. Well, if the mini toolbar doesn't pop up, and I'll look at my Mac too to see, but if the mini toolbar doesn't pop up, you can use the ribbon as well. And
Yeah,
because
and my
all of this
ribbon
stuff.
looks different than yours, so I'm like trying to
Okay.
figure that out too. But I'm managing.
Is the version of Microsoft Word that you're using, is it the current one or is it the old version of it?
I have no idea.
Okay, because I know right now, within like the last year and a half or so, when they did, actually maybe it's 2 years now, the Mac version of the Microsoft Office suite has really been updated, so it looks almost exactly like the current version. The old version, when it used to be before, I think 2018, they were still running the old Microsoft Office 2011 version, and that one looks a lot different. But the newer version should look pretty similar to this. But if you don't, hopefully you've got something up in your ribbon where you've got some text formatting options and you might not have that little grow font. And again, you can choose the font size from right here.
Right.
And just
Yeah,
change
I
it
mean,
to 22.
I did it with the toolbar up top or
Okay.
whatever, but
Okay.
I was just curious that I was like, why isn't it
Okay.
working?
All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll look at mine too, just to make sure, and I'll just make a note to myself to check the Mac version of the current Office software.
Okay.
All right.
Well, and I'll figure out what year I have to.
Okay. All right. So,
Thanks.
yep. Again, so I selected that reason to go text. I've increased the font. I'm also going to apply the bold formatting, so I can just click on that bold option. And then I'm also going to center the text. And so I'm just going to come right up here to my paragraph group and then center it. Or another way, again, if you were working in the mini toolbar, if you hit the Control E is just a keyboard shortcut to do that. And then Becky, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Are you able to share your screen with me? I'm back on now. I can hear you, but I just can't see what you're doing.
Okay. Can anyone else see my screen?
I can.
Okay. All right.
I can too.
Oh, okay, good. All right. It could be that if you change,
Is it
like,
because I left? Is it because I left the meeting and then joined back in?
it shouldn't be. Do you see when I'm talking? Do you see like a picture of my face?
Yes.
Okay. If you go up,
And then when I click on share screen, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
okay, so that just means that you can't share your screen with everyone else. There should be a little
Okay.
there should be an option in your menu to change from speaker view to presentation view. It's going to be, where is it? But it's going to be in your options menu. But I can try stop sharing for a second and then resharing to see if that will help you. Let's see, I'll go back to it. Did that make a difference at all? So I'm assuming,
No.
okay, so I'm assuming if you've got like a little, it might be in your top right corner. It will either look like a little grid or kind of like a tic-tac-toe board or something. If you change that to change from the speaker view, you might be able to see it. And I don't have that option since I'm the host.
Yeah, I'm not finding that.
Okay.
Upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, that's usually where it is in the right-hand corner where it'll say, it'll have like it'll look like a little grid, and then you can look at all the people's faces or all of their, pictures, or you can change it to look at the speaker screen. But it's not showing up for you?
I'm not finding it, but that's okay. Just go ahead. I don't want to hold everybody up.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll see if
No,
I
it's
can
fine.
figure that out. All right. Okay, so again, let's see, where'd I go here? Okay. Okay, so we increased the font size, we centered that text. Again, you can either use your ribbon or you can use your keyboard shortcut, that Control E. We also bolded that text. And then now we're going to come down and we're going to do what's called a control non-adjacent selection. So we want to change all of these labels, the to, from, date, and re. We want to make all of these bold, but it'll be really convenient for us to do them all at the same time. And so one way to do that is to select it, but normally if you do the shift select and I come down here to this, it will select all of the text. And so we don't want, the shift is going to select the first part of text. We can move down here, click, it will select all of the text in between. We don't necessarily want to do that. We want to just focus on the labels. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to come over to the word to. I'm going to double click to select the word. And then I'm going to hold my control key down and I'm going to double click from, double click date, double click re, and then release my control key. And then you'll see when I do that, I'm not selecting all of the text. I'm only selecting the text that I've clicked on, because that's all. And again, this is called a non-adjacent selection. So it's just selecting chunks of text that aren't necessarily right next to each other. And this will work in whether you're working in PowerPoint or Excel or Word, whatever. That control non-adjacent selection will work very similarly, with the features of that application. And again, so I've got all of that text selected. And again, I want to make this a bold formatting. I'm just going to hit Control B, and Control B is the keyboard shortcut to apply bold formatting. All right, did everybody get that non-adjacent selection that used it, hopefully? And again, I'll assume that if nobody says anything that everything's okay. Oh,
Well,
Tracy.
mine didn't do that. Mine won't do it, but I just did it
You should,
individually.
Tracy, you should be able to use that. Do you have the Apple key? Like it has the little Apple icon on it?
Where would that be?
It would be on the bottom left of your keyboard. It's either going to have an apple on it, or it will have like a little, it almost looks like a clover leaf.
Oh, the command, is it a command?
Yep. So if
Okay.
you do that, try that. So
Okay.
select the word to, and then hold that key down, and then
Okay. Yeah,
did that work?
worked.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. So, and again, I apologize if you're using the Mac version of it, it functions a little bit differently, and some of the commands that we want to use aren't necessarily available. And again, that's just Microsoft's way of saying, hey, you should be running a PC and not a Mac OS. So, but I use both. So it's, you know, there's lots of things that I'd rather do on my MacBook than on my Windows PC. All right, so we've got that. So we've got that text changed. Now I'm just going to come up and bring my insertion point somewhere in this line where it says the launch of the new Sea Turtle Conservation Project. And what I want to do here is I just want to apply a bottom border. And so it's, you know, it's a little bit different than, you know, selecting our text and then coming up here and doing that underline, you know, because I know a lot of people that I'll look at their work and it will look like they've got a it'll look like they've got a border there, but what they've done is they've actually come out here and did all of this. And so when I turn off my formatting marks, it kind of looks like they've put a border on it, but then you can see at the very end of that line, there's a little period kind of floating out, you know, and then one of the tricks that people will do is they'll go ahead and change that period to make it white text so you can't really see it over there. And so that's one way that people will sometimes do it. But again, it's so easy that the software makes it so easy to do this stuff. Is again, I'm just going to either select somewhere on that line or select the whole line. It doesn't make a difference, because when we apply a bottom border, it's going to apply the border to the entire line. It's not going to just do one little piece. So again, I'm just going to come to anywhere in this line, and up in my paragraph group, I've got this little option right here. It kind of looks like this dotted grid, and this is my borders option. Now the default option is a bottom border. So if I just click on this, it's automatically going to put a bottom border, and that bottom border is going to go margin to margin. So if I have a 1-inch margin around, that the border will go to that entire margin. If this line was a little bit longer, you know, if this top heading area of my memo was longer, the line would be a little bit longer. If it was shorter than the rest of my document, this line would be a little bit shorter. But again, that bottom border option will apply to an entire, like the entire paragraph, that entire line. And again, if I wanted to choose a different one, let's say I wanted to make this border a different color, I could just come to my options and then go to borders and shading. And then right over here, I could select, so here I've got a border. I've got this style, this single line border, if I wanted to make it a little different. And again, you can choose, if you want to make this different, go ahead and make it different. If I wanted to do this kind of double line border, I could select that. If I wanted to make it, you know, a dark red color, I could do that. And again, so you'll see that it's giving me a preview of kind of what it will look like over here. But right now, nothing's applied. So if I go ahead and if I say, yep, I want that 2 lines, I want to make it a 1/2 point wide, I want it to be this red, okay, then you'll notice nothing's happened. Because once I've already got this border applied, I need to reapply it. So if I come up here, go back to my borders and shading, reselect that option, okay, the double line, I wanted to make it that dark red, and now I have to come over here and click. So I can either click right in this preview or click on this little option out here. So this is going to be a top border, a bottom border, a left border, and a right border. So now it's going to give me a preview of what it's going to look like. I can say OK, and then there's that bottom border applied directly to that line of text. All right. And so now I've got that, I've got it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save my changes so far. I'm just going to click on either that quick save button up in the top left or Control S, or again, you can do the file save. You don't have to do save as because we've already done it. So those are just a couple different ways that we can do that quick save. And now I'm going to go ahead and look at my print preview of this. And again, so I'm just going to come up to my File tab and then Print Options. And then right here, it's going to give me a little preview of what that document will look like when I print it. Now, I don't necessarily need to print this, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit that little back arrow. But if I wanted to, if it was hard for me to see, I can just use this little zoom slider down at the bottom to get a better preview of what it's going to look like when it's printed. Zoom back out a little bit. Come on. Right, and then I'm just going to hit this back arrow, and I can navigate right back to that document. All right, so I've got that one. I'm going to go ahead and save it again, and then I'm going to do a File and then Close. All right, and so we've got that one document complete, and now we're going to do another one in a little different way. So when we open that first one, we just use the generic Microsoft Word template. And again, we opened it as a new document. And what that does is it basically what it is we're just applying the Microsoft Office template to the document. But if we wanted to apply a different template, if we've created our own template to use, or if we wanted to use a different kind of template, we can do that as well. And so to do that, again, I'm not gonna create a blank new document. This time I'm gonna do File and then New. And then instead of hitting that blank document, there's all of these other options right below that. And so again, it might look a little bit different if you're using a different version of Word. It might look a little different if you're using the Mac version of it. But you should have options for several different templates in here. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to look for the cover letter blue. And so you can either scroll through it to find the cover letter blue. You can come to Business, Documents, and look for the cover letter blue because it'll be up here in these these business documents. Or you can just come up here where it says search and type cover letter blue, and the blue is in parentheses, and then hit enter. And then there's our cover letter blue document template. Now, if you don't have the cover letter blue document template, if you just choose like a different cover letter, that's totally fine too. Again, it's the important thing is that not that you're choosing the exact same template that I'm choosing, but that you understand that you don't have to just use the normal document that Word gives you. There's lots of different things available to us. And again, if I click on that back option, you can see I've got a bunch of options right here, but there's also search online templates. If I wanted to search an online template, there's people just like you and me have created templates for Microsoft Word that other people are like, hey, that's a really cool template that you've created. You should share it. And so there's a lot of user-generated content that is shared through this option, and there's a lot of other content that Microsoft Corporation has created that's just not included in the basic software package that they'll just upload to their template library, and you can just navigate there and choose it. And again, if you wanted to use a letter, you could choose a letter template. If you wanted to go ahead and you were going to create like a flyer, you could click on that flyer template to see if anything kind of jumped out at you. If something looked great, like, oh, hey, I want to do this basketball one, you can choose that. But just know that once you choose a template, You can also customize that in all the ways you want. Like if you wanted to do that lawn mowing service, but you didn't want to show that lawn, you wanted to show a different lawn, you could select that picture and change it into a different picture. I mean, none of this stuff is set in stone. It's all, again, fully customizable for you. But again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to choose that blue cover letter. And then I've selected that template, and it's going to give me a little preview of what it will look like. I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, that's the one I want. I'm going to create my document based on that template. And then here it is. And so now you'll notice that when we do this, we have all these, like, your name, city address, recipient name, all these, this text is already in here. And it would be a hassle if we had to come in here and delete everything. But you'll notice if we click where it says your name, it automatically is going to select all of that text. So when people have created these templates, they've created them using, like, building them with fields. And so the nice thing about the fields is that if you select a field, like any one of these things it's a field. If you select it, it's going to select all of that text at the same time, and then you can just type right over it. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got that one. I'm going to go ahead and change this a little bit. So I'm going to select where it says date. And then so I can, if I click on date, I'm going to come up to my insert tab. And this one, this used to be a little date picker that was included here. It's not right now, but I'm going to come up to my insert tab, and I want to put a formatted date in here. So I don't want to type it. I want to create this letter so that whenever somebody opens this document, it's going to always show today's date. So if I open it today, it's going to say May 12th, 2020. If I opened it a year from now, it'll say May 12th, 2021. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select that field. I'm going to come up to my insert tab. And then in my text group right over here, I've got this date and time option. I'm just going to click on date and time. And then you'll see I've got all these different formats. I'm just going to select the normal standard long format that we use every day, May 12th, 2020. And I'm going to click right down here where it says update automatically. And again, when I do that, it's automatically going to update whenever somebody opens this document. Whatever the system date of that computer is, that date is going to display here. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And then you'll see it automatically populated that. If I hover over it, you can see it's still a field. Now, if you didn't want it to, if you decided, you know what, I don't want it to update automatically, if we right click on this, you can see there's a way that we can eliminate that. So we can update the field, or we can remove it as well. So it's just, once you've got it in there, you're not stuck with it forever. And again, you can always update it if it's not updating automatically, but it should do that. All right. So now I'm going to come to this recipient name. And again, I'm just going to click anywhere on the line. I don't have to select in front of it or behind it. Anywhere in that, it'll automatically select the whole text. I'm going to type Ms. Yana Roy. So Ms. Yana Roy. And again, I'm just clicking on it and over typing. And then she's a manager. So I'm just going to click on title, manager. Click on that company name, Rainforest Lodge. And then the address for Rainforest Lodge. And then again, you'll notice if I turn on my formatting marks, this one, we've got a next line indicator. So this is where we hit the address, and then they've got an automatically, they return it in a special way after that line. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the address is going to be P.O. Box 4397. And then if I hit enter, you'll notice it brings me way down to the bottom of that. I'm going to undo that for a second. Instead, I'm going to hold my shift key down and hit enter. And then it gives me that same next line indicator. So it's not taking me out of this field, it's bringing me to the next line of the field. And again, that's holding the shift key and then typing enter will do that. Will give you that same feature. And then Tamarindo is the city. 50309, comma, Costa Rica. All right. And then where it says, Dear Ms. Yana Roy, again, since it recognizes this recipient name field up here that matches right here, it automatically will populate for us. And so instead of Ms. Yana Roy, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to delete Yana and just say Ms. Roy, and then click out of that. And then so then you'll notice that when I do that, now it's changed up here from Ms. Yana Roy to Ms. Roy. So again, I'm going to undo that for a second. And then now where it says, Dear Ms. Yana Roy, I'm going to right click on that and say remove content control. And so when I remove that content control, it's going to unlink this field with this field. So I'm going to hit remove content. Oh, why didn't it? It should not have done that. Okay. All right. So then that's weird. It should not have done that. But now you can see I can retype Yana Roy up here, and it's not affecting this because they're no longer linked to one another. Again, I can hover over this. It's not going to highlight for me anymore. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this one. I'm going to do a file, save as. And I'm going to go again, I'm going to browse. I'm going to navigate to that same folder that I just saved my last one in. Again, that was on my desktop. It was in that Word file. And I'm just going to call this my rainforest letter. And then save. All right. And then I'm going to come up here to this top where it says your name. And again, I don't want to type. Now, if you are using your own computer, sometimes this is like an author field. Your name might automatically populate up here. Right now, mine's not. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on this and say remove content control. And again, it's going to eliminate that field. And then I'm just going to type reason to go. And then I'm going to fill out the rest of their this. So instead of an address, again, it's just a field. So if I want to do something different, I can. I don't have to follow what that code is. I'm going to go ahead and populate this how I want to populate it. So I'm going to go ahead and say change these three options up here to travel, volunteer, and then www.r2g.com. So again, I'm just going to select the first one, type travel, but I'm going to try to spell it correctly. And then select where it says telephone, and I'm going to type volunteer. And then select that email field, and then just type www.r2g.com. And then if for some reason I accidentally hit my space key, it will populate that as a URL, as an active link. If I don't want it as an active link, I can either hit that undo button to cancel it out, or I can hover over it, do a right click, and then say remove hyperlink, and it will take that hyperlink right out of there. And again, when you're printing a letter to mail, you typically don't want to have that, like all those multiple colors in there. So you don't want to have URLs as active links in a printed document. So you want to remove it. But if you're sending this out as an email attachment, it's helpful to keep that link in there, because then it will automatically redirect your customers or your contacts to that specific location right from the document. All right, so I'm going to do another quick save here. All right, and so there's now, again, these are all placeholders here. So if we click down here in this body of the letter, you can see that it has all of this text is automatically highlighted. And so again, it's just a field that's inserted in a way that looks kind of like a bunch of paragraphs. But again, it's just one field. If we start typing the body of our letter, it'll automatically, it'll automatically start, take all of that text out, and it'll give us that a blank paragraph to work with. And then you'll see we've also got these other fields. This sincerely line is here, again, populated for us. And then our name, again, I don't know if your name is down there, but this has been inserted as an author field. And so that's why it's automatically populating with my name, because if I go to my Backstage view, right here, you can see I'm the author of this document. And so that's how it's recognizing who's doing this. So I didn't turn my screen off for a second, type my name in here, and then turn it back on. It automatically recognized who's creating this document. And again, those are just different quick ways to kind of customize documents, for yourself. And again, it's just using fields within a template. All right, so I'm not gonna go ahead and type all of the text that they want us to type, because we're kind of running short on time. Got about 9 minutes left or 8 minutes left or so. One of the other things that I would do is, with this, I probably wouldn't keep this text formatted bold, like the date, the salutation, and the complimentary closing are all highlighted in bold. I personally wouldn't do that. I would change this. I would either select all of this text or do a Control All or something. Again, Control All or Control A is going to select the entire document. But I would definitely select from the date to the end and turn off that bold formatting, just because I don't like the way, I like it to look more consistent. It looks kind of, to me, it looks kind of amateurish if you've got all these different text formattings going on within a professional business letter. You really want it to kind of be clean, and especially if it's important enough that you're going to send a letter about it, you don't want formatting to distract from the content of the letter. And so that would be one reason that I would certainly get rid of all that extra formatting. Yeah, I mean, that's just personal preference. Other people may do it differently, but to me, if it's important enough to send in a letter, then you want really the focus to be the letter. You don't want it to be all the formatting going on around that letter. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that progress. And so does anybody have any questions so far? I mean, it's, again, to me it feels like, I mean, it doesn't feel to me like it's like I'm going really fast, but I feel like it could be going fast to people who are like really just learning brand new to the software. So again, if I'm going too quickly, by all means, just say, hey, Shane, can you slow down a little bit? Or if I'm not going fast enough, you can say, hey, you can send me a private message if you want and say, hey, Shane, you can go a little faster. I'm cool with you moving a little faster for this. But again, I want this to be really focused on your skill level and your ability. And if it's too easy or if it's too complicated, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and it might not be working for you. So
It's going well for me. I don't know about the others.
okay. All right. How
Yeah,
about you?
I'm doing fine.
Okay, and you're managing okay with the Mac software for it?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I'll look at mine and see if I have that mini toolbar again. Like I thought it was available on the Mac, but it could be that it's not with an older version of it as well. So
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. So, and is there, and again, if there's something that we hopefully everybody saw I think when we kind of published this little introduction description of the classes, that it kind of gave you an outline of what all the material that was going to be presented. If there's something that you don't see on there or that you really want to know how to do, again, I'll always kind of leave a couple of minutes at the end for questions, or if people want to see how you might do something, by all means, just say, hey, Shane, I would really like to know how you adjust, page margins, or how you adjust the line spacing, or how you apply, how you create your own style or something. And if there's something that you really want to know, and if I'm not scheduled to cover it, I'm more than happy to go over that, as we go through the lesson too. Or if something comes up that kind of reminds you of something that you've seen or that you've done before but can't remember how to do it, by all means, just go ahead and ask. That's why I'm here. I love working with this software, and I love being able to share it with people. So.
Shane,
Yes.
the ribbon up there, yours seems a lot bigger than mine. So for mine, I do have the home, let me just open. I have
Well,
the
and
file
also,
open view.
Khadija, didn't you also shrunk your screen a little bit, right? So you could see.
No, when I
picture?
expand it, I still don't have it. It ends at find, replace. It ends at editing.
Okay. And so it could be that, since I've got 3 22-inch screens in front of me, so
Okay.
my screen is going to be a little bit bigger than what you're probably looking at.
Yes.
So it could be that, because my screen is bigger, that there's a lot more going on my screen. I mean, I've got a lot more on this ribbon right here. There's a lot more information than if I were to open up my laptop and just look at my laptop, because my laptop is going to be look something more like this. I mean, it's only like a 13.5-inch screen or something. So it's going to be a lot smaller. Everything's going to be kind of squished together.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with this screen, it's much larger, so that everything can kind of be spread out a little bit.
And I don't have a side ribbon either.
A side ribbon?
No, not ribbon. What is the measuring, the ruler? The ruler.
Oh, the ruler.
Yeah.
Oh, the vertical rule?
Yeah.
Do you have the top one?
Yes, I do.
If you've got the top one, that side one should pop up for you as well.
I don't have either. I don't have that either.
Okay, so if you don't have the ribbon at all, if you go to the view tab in the show group, you should have an option to turn on the ruler.
Yeah, it's checked for me.
Okay.
But it doesn't.
Huh. Well,
when I uncheck it,
okay, I turned mine on.
Okay, and so Khadija, what yours could be is if you're not in full screen view, it could be that your screen might be a little far over, that you just can't see it. But if your ribbon is active, then both of them should be showing.
Yeah, I'm in full screen now.
Huh.
Yeah. That's
bizarre. Because if I do vertical page position, that's not going to affect it at all. Huh. I'll check on that to see if there's a reason why your vertical rule wouldn't be showing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Any other questions about anything that we've covered so far? No? All right. Again, so then I'm just going to go ahead and save that work, and then I will let you go like a minute early. And then for those of you that are going to be back for PowerPoint in a little bit, perfect. We don't have a data file for that one as well. We're just going to start from a blank presentation. So you can just hop right on. I'll resend the link for that one. But otherwise, if you're not, then I will see you again when I see you, either on tomorrow for Excel or something, or for this class on Thursday again.
Shane, where are you sending the recorded material to?
I'm posting it on my YouTube channel, but I'm linking it to the classroom, to that Google Classroom. So it's going to be, if you go to that Google Classroom, like right here, for example, with that Microsoft Excel class from yesterday, if you go to the classwork, right here, we've got the Excel lesson video is
Okay,
right
I was
here.
a bit late for how to connect to it yesterday, so let me just write this down.
Okay.
So it's Google Classroom.google.
Yep. So if you go to the Google Classroom, I think you accepted it. I'll double check.
Zyg.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you are. Yep. So you have access to it. So if you just go to the classwork tab and then under lesson 1, it'll say lesson 1 video.
Okay.
And if you click there, it says this is the recorded session from Monday the 11th. And then here it is. You'll just click on it. And so instead of downloading the video like I used to do, now I just link it to my YouTube channel that's associated with my Google account.
Yes.
And then it will automatically stream. So you don't have to download it anymore.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane.
Yep.
Thank you, Shane.
Yes, you're welcome, LM. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for this chance. It's a good experience for me.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, okay,
All
thank you.
right. Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone. So I will see you either in a few minutes or whatever session you'll be with me next.
Thank you.
Thank you.